back to Miss Cindy's Kitchen. Another recipe, because I have the cabinet door open, that's my trademark. I'm going to be making peach cobbler. And as I've mentioned before, I have developed a following at work for my pop-up bake sale at work. And everybody's been requesting peach cobbler. So, when I went shopping yesterday at grocery outlet, I got myself some peaches. The recipe calls for 3.5 to 4 pounds of peaches cut into 1 to 1.5 inch chunks. So that's what you're seeing here. This is about 3.5 or 3 3/4 pounds peaches. And to this, we are going to add a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. So this is a 1/4 cup. And I'm just going to compress this on the side. So brown sugar is always packed when you measure it. So 1/4 cup brown sugar and a tablespoon of cornstarch. And move this out of the way. And the cornstarch will help the juices thicken. So tablespoon of cornstarch. And then we have a lemon. So what I'm going to do here is squeeze it with a citrus press. These are not very juicy lemons, and Maddie always tells me I'm doing it backwards, that you're supposed to do it this way, and that gets you more juice, which, as you can see, seems to be the case. So, let me take that out. So, 1 tablespoon is actually about what the yield is on these little bitty lemons. And a little bit more won't hurt. So, I'm going to do that. I'm going to strain it in case there's any itty bitty bits of seeds or pulp. Doesn't really matter with the pulp, I just don't want the seeds. Alright. I'm going to put that over there for now. Then the next thing is cinnamon and nutmeg, ginger, and we'll leave Marianne behind on Gilligan's Island. Yeah. We just started watching that again. Anyway, we have cinnamon for 1/2 teaspoon. So, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Alright. And ginger and nutmeg are both 1/8 teaspoon. And we will have the recipe card for you available. This is such an itty bitty measuring spoon. And 1/8 teaspoon of ginger. Alright, so we got that. And then it also calls for 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And I'll just do this over the counter. You always want to measure your salt aside from where your recipe is. You don't want to accidentally spill too much salt. So, then we have a teaspoon of vanilla. Alright. I'm just going to give it a little splash. Alright, and now we're going to take a spoon and we're going to stir this lot up. Yeah, Dahlia, she's got to come in here and check things out. Alright. So, see? Gonna mix it up. And the interesting thing about this particular recipe for peach cobbler is that you pre-bake the peaches for 10 minutes while you're getting the topping together. That way the peaches are at a better consistency when the whole cobbler is done. And again, I'm just scooping and turning, making sure I get everything mixed in. Scoop and turn. Scoop and turn. Alright, so now we have that. I'm going to put this in the pan. Alright, get in there. Everybody into the pool. Whoops, sorry for the crash. Alright. And I taste tested these peaches as I was cutting them up, and they are delicious. So, anyway, these are going to cook for 10 minutes in the oven at 350. And while these bake, I'm going to prepare the crust. Alright. Set the timer. Now, we're going to make the crust. So, let me get a few things out of the way. And going to get the flour. We have 2 cups all-purpose flour. And I always like to scoop and turn my flour just to make sure it's not compacted. And make sure you like and subscribe and keep on sharing and commenting, because I love hearing from you all. So we have 2 cups of flour and a 1/2 cup of sugar. Half a cup of sugar. Alright. And 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. This calls for baking powder as well as baking soda. So 1 teaspoon. And 1.5 teaspoons baking powder. I always double check my recipe to make sure I'm doing it right. Especially if it's a recipe I don't have memorized already. And a 1/4 teaspoon soda. And I keep the soda in this jar because the little cardboard box it comes in can get, soda can get clumpy. And it still gets clumpy, so I'm just going to break it apart with my fingers. And now we are going to blend this just to get the dry ingredients together. Alright. And ahead of time, I cubed a stick of butter. It's a 1/2 cup of butter, which is 1 stick. I cut it in 4 sections and then chopped it so it's nice and cut up, because this has kind of a biscuit topping for the crust. Get me got butterfingers here and a pastry cutter. So this is kind of like a biscuit style topping. So we're going to keep mixing this until it gets to be like pea-sized crumbs, and then we'll bring you back for the next step. The peaches have cooked for 10 minutes and I've gotten them out of the oven, and as you can see, our dry ingredients mixed with butter are now like the consistency of coarse sand. And now we're going to add our 1/2 cup of buttermilk. And we're going to mix this in, and it's going to be similar to the consistency of biscuits. So it needs to be moist but not wet, so it's not too sticky. So, and right now it's just a tiny bit too dry, so I'm just going to put in a splash, just a teeny bit of buttermilk. Just a teeny bit. Probably not more than a teaspoon. So we're just going to mix this And basically the way this next part comes together is, see the biscuit dough, the biscuit topping is now more cohesive than it was. Kind of like the consistency of a scone or a biscuit. So, now that I've gotten it mostly mixed, I'm going to finish mixing it by hand. Alright. So, like I always say, your best tools in the kitchen are the ones on the ends of your wrists. So, just like you're mixing biscuits, just pick it up and kind of knead it together till it's more together. Whoops. Alright. So, see, it's kind of like a loose dough like biscuits. So, this is the way I made it last time, and this worked out pretty well. Just get like golf ball size clumps and kind of stretch it into an oblong or round biscuit, kind of like that. And it's not an exact science, so just, it doesn't have to be uniform, just roughly similar in size and shape. And this dough is kind of the consistency of Play-Doh for those of you who have little ones in your life. But unlike Play-Doh, you won't get sick if you eat this dough. It just tastes much better when it's cooked. Alright. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller, not a big deal. Just spread them out roughly enough to cover up the peaches. You can make them smaller, bigger, whatever works for you. Alright. So, then let's see here. This one I'm going to break up a little bit, make it into a couple smaller bits, and then just kind of place it in here, because these will expand a little while they're baking. I'm going to do that. And now we've got the last little bit of dough. Look at all that. Alright. Just kind of, this looks like it has an opening here. It's not exact science. It's more of an art. And now we're going to put a bit of an egg wash on the biscuit topping. This is 1 egg that I have scrambled and added about a tablespoon of buttermilk, or you can use regular milk. This was so good last time that I decided to use the same recipe again. Oh boy, this is making a mess. The albumin is kind of in a blob rather than the yolk mixed together. Alright, so there's that. And we're going to put on some cinnamon sugar. So pause for just a sec while I get the dough off my hands. And I already have some cinnamon sugar from a previous recipe that I'm going to repurpose to the topping for this. I'm just going to sprinkle some cinnamon sugar on the biscuit topping and then also on the peaches. And what works also really well with this is the coarse sugar, like the turbinado sugar. You can use that to make kind of a crunchy topping on the biscuits. That also tastes good too. So I'm just going to give it a little extra cinnamon sugar just to give a little bit of oomph. And this is going to bake in the oven for about 42 minutes. So while this is baking, make sure you like and subscribe and continue to share. And I'll continue to leave my cabinet open and leave us comments. And we'll be back shortly. All right. And our peach cobbler has baked at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't that look yummy?
It sure does.
And I left the skins on because it doesn't really make a difference in the finished product to have the skins on or off, and leaving them on is a heck of a lot easier. So anyway, we're gonna let this sit and cool for a little bit, and then we will bring you back for a taste test. All right, and the peach cobbler has cooled off, so it's not going to be the temperature of lava when Logan takes a taste.
Yep.
Yep. All right.
You good? Gee, I couldn't tell.
Does each bite get progressively tastier?
I mean, I was trying to get a bite with some of the peaches and the
Biscuit topping.
biscuit topping. It's very good.
All right.
Dolly wants to taste test too.
Well, thank you again for joining us, and come back again soon for another recipe.
Thank you for watching Miss Cindy's Kitchen. To get more recipes like this one, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications when new videos are uploaded. Share it out to your friends, family, and neighbors, and leave us a comment to let us know how this recipe worked for you. And don't forget to hit that like button. Again, thank you for watching Miss Cindy's Kitchen.